Conversation today with Liz Gertz from ServiceNow. And we start each account-based Friday week with a poll. And let me bring that poll up here. This poll actually was kind of motivated by one of my clients. I was talking with one of my clients who's entering into a new market with an existing product, and it was an interesting dialogue that we were having, and we were talking about a bunch of different things, but kind of the reaction really struck me when we were asking the question or presenting the possibility of going into a new market. And I had asked, well, typically you get either internal research or external research. And we had a dialogue, and they were vehement that they wanted to look at their internal research to kind of project where they wanted to go. And it was just the opposite feeling of how I was thinking of things. I was thinking, gosh, if I were going into a new market that I knew nothing about, I'd want to research the market and get external data to kind of make that assumption. So I posed it to the people, and we had 19 people here that voted. So not quite statistically significant, but pretty much split down the middle. I don't know, Megan, what's your reaction to this?
Yeah, it occurs to me that when you look only at internal data, right, to enter a new market, you're just not going to have that much because it's a new market, right? And kind of by definition, you're going to need to go outside for information. I think this is probably one of those where some level of both is needed, because you want to understand what works within your existing base and where you've got similarities in the customers that you serve today, and what they need and how you serve them, and what they cost and all that kind of thing. What you have to invest to win them, what you have to invest to keep them. So that makes sense. Like, you want to have that baseline of your internal knowledge, but you absolutely need to find out what you don't know from external data, right? This is the biggest risk, is assuming things about a market that may or may not be correct without that outside perspective. And that's where, interviews with experts and looking at, outside data resources, looking at companies who already serve the kinds of customers you want to serve. What do they know? There's so many different ways you can learn and not be blindsided by things that you could have known. So I would say external first, actually, but complemented by internal. But this is probably a good moment to turn things over to you, Liz, because I don't know too many people who know more about data than you do. Liz, thank you for joining us. And for folks who don't know Liz, she is a Senior Director of Marketing Operations at ServiceNow, but she also spent a number of years as a marketing operations global leader at D&B, and just has really been an advocate for the marketing operations function and for up-leveling its strategic role within B2B companies for a long time. And John and I have both known Liz for some time, and are excited that she's going to share her wisdom today. And perhaps we could start with your thoughts on the question of the day here. What do you think? Internal, external, both?
Yeah, so thanks, John and Megan, for having me. I'm excited to join your show this morning. So definitely both, right? Especially coming from a data company for a long time, right? How could it be more important than to be enriching your data? So definitely looking at your internal data, enrich it, right? Maybe you don't have the most complete depth and breadth of all of your data. Look at your data, be able to build models off of a combination of internal and external to really get to the sweet spot of what your target audience needs to look like in your market. So yeah, I'd go with both, but definitely heavy on that external.
Yeah, I think so. Well, hopefully your client decided to change their mind a little bit there, John.
Work in progress.
It's all good. And thanks to everybody who joined today. What we were hoping to kick off with is, first of all, Liz, your point of view on sort of the evolution of marketing operations and the role that you see it play now in companies, and then also sort of what happens as companies scale. I mean, ServiceNow is growing like mad, so I would be curious to hear what kinds of things you're working on and thinking about as you're helping them to scale, but just kind of also broadly how marketing ops has changed and grown over the years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question, because it's changed so much, right? And I'm just coming up on my 1 year at ServiceNow this month. So exciting to be on this, what we call this rocket ship of growth in the digital transformation era. So just so fun, but we're moving so fast. And if I think back to what marketing ops was like 15 years ago-ish, right, when we kind of coined that term, we were creating lists, deploying batch emails, and running reports. Like, somebody, look at your contact data, look at your account data, but it wasn't that strategic infrastructure of the team that was critical, right, to an organization. And it's just grown in importance. Think about it now, mostly reporting to CMOs. The teams are including like performance reporting, managing the MarTech stack, budget and planning, project management, data management, skill development, right? We've really evolved this kind of function. And, at the same time, we're also the unsung hero, right? The behind the scenes team that isn't getting all of the recognition. So really trying to like look at that team and develop them. But again, like the marketing tech stack has just evolved so much as well, right? When we went from, hey, do we want to deploy Eloqua or Marketo to now like 10,000 plus tools available to us and how we manage that. So that has evolved, the use of data and analytics and model development, right? We're no longer just looking at clicks and opens, right? We have insight across the full buyer's journey from, early stage, unknown visitors, all the way through to loyal customers. So, from data, just tighter alignment. Another big, part of that tighter alignment between marketing ops and sales ops and just marketing and sales. In some cases, we call it revenue ops now in some organizations, but that also shows, right, that transformation and alignment. So just alone, like I just can't imagine, like I think back to 15-ish years ago in marketing ops and then where we are today. It's just super exciting to see this elevated and the importance of the function.
I almost think of kind of what you have done here as a professional practitioner in marketing operations, which is very unusual. Like you've had a long career in marketing ops. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a lot of really interesting things in that conversation around planning, and then not necessarily getting the recognition maybe a few years ago that perhaps today marketing ops is getting that recognition or starting to get a lot more recognition. Where do you see that in the recruiting and retaining strategy of marketing ops professionals? Because right now, everybody's looking for talent in this area. And I imagine you might be getting recruiter calls. I know my clients are, they're asking me, they're trying to recruit our team. Like it's getting, insane out there in terms of recruiting and retaining. What are you seeing in terms of trends there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even in the last year, how hard and difficult it is, right, to find great talent and to get, our company, I think we're unique. A lot of people are looking to come to a company that's growing fast and on that journey. But, it's also as important to, develop and retain the talent you have and give them opportunities for growth. I'm a big fan of development plans and really partnering with my team members and, offering up the certifications they need and just other, areas of project leadership, et cetera, to give them exposure and to get our team that exposure. But I'm also a big fan of mentoring and so I, back in the day was a young, female in STEM, which was very unheard of. And I didn't realize that because I was pretty blind to it. I just did what I wanted to do. But, so I am pretty passionate about mentoring young women in STEM. And there's some great organizations out there. I'll give a shout out to Built by Girls. That's one that I, continuously work with, but, just giving the opportunity to early in career. And, I'd say network, you're going to find good people through your network and, that's how we're like looking for best talent today, but it's a challenge.
Liz, what are some suggestions as you're thinking about, people going through their planning cycle and hopefully planning for their people as part of that, as you suggested? I'm curious to know what are some suggestions you have for people to identify the kinds of things that would be helpful to their team members? Like, how do you combine what they're interested in with what you'd like to help them learn how to do as part of your mentoring and your development of your team?
Yeah, I think, first of all, listening is really important, right? And when you're having those, whether it's quarterly or, one-on-one conversations, really understanding what they're interested in. And then trying to tie back specific kind of projects or initiatives to their interests. Some may be in or out of scope in their day-to-day job, but that's also important. And then, just from a planning perspective, looking at the priorities. So starting with what are the company priorities for next year? And how is marketing going to roll up to that? Like, where are we going to be? What do we need to do? I mean, yesterday in our team call, like we gave them an early view into what are 22 priorities? What are, from an ops perspective and continuing to scale and have operational excellence in our infrastructure, like where are the opportunities going to be? Like, what are the types of projects? So how are we going to focus on technology? Where are we going to focus on data? Like, so they can also be thinking early, right? About how does this impact me well before the year starts and what's ahead. So I just think it's important to have those open conversations and try to link, right, some opportunities and stretch projects for people, because it's not all formal. It's not always going to be a promotion, right? So trying to, have those open dialogues.
As part of your planning process there, and we were talking right before we got on the call, you've got an impressive 3-year planning horizon, and it sounds like you're pretty rigorous around getting to that part. And I was just thinking about COVID right now and this weird pandemic situation that's uneven globally right now. If you're comfortable sharing, like, what's the conversation coming back the other way from the non-marketers of questions that they're asking, or what are you doing to help prepare kind of for the next chapter? Is it going to be kind of this online world? Is it a hybrid world? Is it moving more toward back to physical events? Like, what are those dialogues like as part of your planning process, given that 3-year horizon?
Yeah, so those are real good questions, John. I mean, we are definitely looking still to be flexible and see what works for everyone, right? I don't think anyone knows right now exactly where this world's going to head. Definitely hybrid model's important. I mean, we had to shift on a dime last year, just like everyone did, and move pretty much 100% digital, right? And now just recently kind of going to that hybrid. We're in the midst of our Now at Work event, which is a big one for us. And we have, a little bit of both going on right now. So, definitely, I see it'll still be a hybrid. I mean, just think of volumes of leads. Maybe the quality is not the same when it's digital, but you're definitely getting volume, right? Which helps you expand your contact audience too, right? And help do some analytics against that. Are there some personas out there you didn't think about before? Because now they're engaging and it's a little bit easier for them to engage with you and not having to go to an in-person event. So definitely, I think it's going to be hybrid. I think, some of us, we don't know what's ahead. But yeah, definitely from our 3-year planning. We started really early this year. It's been probably back in June, I was creating my 3-year plan for what we call lead excellence, or end-to-end lead journey optimization project. And, we don't know what the 3rd year is, but just to force the discipline of not only thinking about this year. And it's just so important, especially in working with your IT partners and your analytics partners. Like, we need to get on their roadmap, right? We can't show up at the end of the year and be like, hey, we need A, B, and C, right? We need to be having that dialogue for next year. And then what is, believe it or not, like a year from now, we'll be talking about that 23 roadmap. So we need to be on it now. And, we have a good discipline here, and it's exciting and it's a little bit forced, but we're doing it. And our CEO's out there talking about our plan to 15 billion, like, we're growing. So we need to be scaling with them.
I feel like it's a little bit of a misconception about high growth companies that everybody's just doing everything at, warp speed and not really planning. We just have to execute, and one of the things that we found a couple of years ago, I remember from some serious decisions research, was actually the fastest growth companies had a longer planning horizon. And it sounds like that's something that ServiceNow has embraced as well, which I think is great. I mean, do you ever feel a tension between like needing to just do a whole bunch of stuff quickly versus sort of sticking to that 3-year plan? And how do you adapt? I mean, how do you see sort of adapting that plan over time to your point? We don't know what's going to happen after years, really, but yeah.
For sure. Well, we are moving fast and we're doing a lot of short-term things. So don't let the 3-year plan in PowerPoint, right? Make you think that the short-term stuff's not happening. So especially like, when I joined late last year, and then in January, we launched a new project. I think this new project wasn't on the plan, right? Yeah. So those that were there were like, oh, right? Here's this new project. Wow, how are we going to fit that in? And it's kind of taken over some of the kind of focus work. Now we've stayed true to some of the significant projects. We had some big CRM work going on, some more planning work going on, some heavy development that had to happen. And our teams were amazing in thinking about these sprints and how we could take on a little more and embed that into it. So yes, we need to keep the short-term planning going while we're looking at the long-term. I mean, we also have an example where we just recently started a MarTech governance council, because if you think about it, in a large marketing organization, there's so many functions that are buying tools and, right, I need something for ABM. I need something for content management. I need something for my webinar. Oh no, we're going digital in Europe and I need a different platform than they have here in APJ or in the Americas, right? So just thinking differently about that, we were like, okay, we need to put more process, right? Marketing operations has to be process driven. And in order to have an integrated tech stack that's really going to enable your demand gen strategy, you just need to do that. So that's something we're focused on. It's not easy, right? It's starting to centralize more of the buying process and the decisioning around what tools we use. So we have a Tiger team, right? That's kind of looking at the whole tech stack. It's going to take time. It's not an overnight, we have 3 of these, we're only going to have one, cut one. It doesn't happen that quickly. But I think that's also where planning comes to play, right? We have visibility into the functions and their plans and what they're thinking, and we get to look at that early.
That's fantastic that you've got that established. And it sounds like you're taking that in 2 different directions. Anything that's net new to your stack would go through the tech governance, and then anything say that exists, it sounds like there's some scrutiny collectively that's going behind that. What kind of functions are part of that decision-making process, out of curiosity? And are you kind of like the quarterback of that, or are you like a member with many members, like everybody's equivalent in that kind of structure? Because that's really fascinating to me, at least.
Yeah, so it's brand new. So we have a focus all around what we're calling our next gen marketing operations. And that includes, different priorities and outcomes that we're looking to drive. This is one of the key projects within that priority. And so I am on the team, and my team is heavily involved in this. We have partners from another MarTech team, our IT team, and other kind of operational stakeholders of technology, our event operations. They use a lot of it. So anyone that has kind of plays more of a decision-making role today or owns big parts of their tech stack. And then we have senior executives, right? That also we're bringing in and we're building the process, right? It's evolving, it's brand new, but yeah, it is a cross-functional team. And I think that's the only way we're going to be successful, is by all working together.
You mentioned that there are whatever, 10,000 different MarTech tools out there, not to mention sales and everything else. My gosh, it's crazy. What are some suggestions, or what are some ways that you stay up to date on the stuff that's out there and what's sort of catching fire and that you want to, be informed about?
I always tell everybody, they're tired of hearing this. I listen to podcasts, not to give a plug for this one, of course, but I love to go out for a run. I love to go out for a walk with the dog. And one of the easiest ways for me to stay is to listen to others, right? Others in the industry and what's working for them. Because otherwise, you can read and research. And of course, there's tools out there. Everyone likes this platform over that platform. But I like to listen to use cases, right? We're in the tech industry. What are others doing in the tech industry? What tools are working for them? So I'm a fan of listening to other SMEs that have been through it, and and then doing due diligence. But yeah, relying on my network is also important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the key thing that I feel like we lose sight of sometimes when we're building marketing plans, right? It's your best advertising are the people that you've already made happy. And vice versa, right? The thing you didn't know is killing your demand are the people that you didn't make happy. So didn't get to impact for. So in terms of your own skill development, what are some things that you're looking to add to your capabilities? Given sort of the work that you're doing and the goals that you have, what are some things that you're working on?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So I think first and foremost, especially being at a new company, I'm always looking to expand my people leadership skills, right? It's been really difficult in this pandemic when you can't meet people in person. And, in the beginning, right, I always use video. I'm always on video. I have to get to know people, but I'm a people person. And so it's been hard. It's been hard not to get to meet people in person. So I'm really I've taken a few leadership courses lately, just trying to get tips and tricks from others on how do you build relationships, right, during a time like this. So I'm very, very eager to meet people in person. So that's an area of focus for me personally, just from being a leader of people. And then I think the MarTech part is also hard. So I'm definitely focused on listening more, trying to keep up to date so that I can be there to support my team as, best possible. So those are two areas where I'd say I'm most focused on right now. Great question.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's an interesting one, right? It's like, and especially as people become more senior in their roles, no one should assume that we're not all trying to continue to work on ourselves and our skills and our knowledge and kind of building on that, what's your advice for people who are coming in as new marketing operations leaders? Like, what were some of the first things you felt like this is what I need to do to get myself on a great path to success here?
Yeah. Wow. So you definitely can't do it all. You can't know everything, especially like marketing operations has evolved so much, right? We talked about that. Like, there's no way, like you can't imagine, right? Or you can't expect yourself. So I would say, I would tell others to like have your resources, right? Know where to go. I always say, like, I can't remember everything anymore, but I know where to find it. And that's it. And build your network. Like, I think like Megan and we probably know each other almost 10 years now, right?
Oh,
Which
easily.
is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think about, of course, the days of Eloqua experience and all of those going back to like all these different industry events, right? But you need to be outside in. I think that's one of the most important things that's helped me be successful is making contacts, right? At these events or just virtual events and meeting people and putting yourself out there. Because if you stay inside, you only know what you know from like within your company, you're going to be very limited, right? So, partner internally. Your analytics team members are going to be like some of your most important team members. Like, we're building models. We launched a new lead scoring approach this quarter. Like, we're so excited for the performance we're seeing, but we wouldn't have done it without our AI ML team, right? And then our technology partners as well, right? So for me personally, like, those are two teams, our data governance in, our enterprise space. But so partner internally, but partner externally, that's going to get you really far. And that's going to make you think more broadly and definitely make you think differently.
Just noticing in your background, Liz, it looks like you have an undergraduate in computer science, which is unique relative to a lot of marketing ops people that I typically run across. Yet you're a people person, which is also unique to have that kind of blend. I know I have strong introversion tendencies. And I know as I was a former CMO, it was very confusing to people because at times I needed some time just to myself. Yet the role was very, very extroverted. How do you balance kind of that mix internally to go toward people, yet you can go deep into, obviously with your computer science background, you can probably go pretty deep into systems or into that realm. How do you balance that with, working with others?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So those are I think it's just like my brain. I'm just left brain. Like, I'm very analytical. I go deep. I enjoy that. I had an early internship with IBM back in the day in college, where I was so excited learning about these systems analysts who got to liaise, right, between the developers and the programmers, but the business. And I think early on in college, I was like, oh no, I don't want to program. I don't want to sit in front of a computer. But I stuck with it because I knew, I hate to say this, like, those were high paid at the time. I wanted to have this pedigree and move on. And so when I graduated, I quickly got into roles that were liaison roles and more systems analyst roles before I got into CRM. But, definitely thinking about the mindset. I mean, I think I'm a people person, but I also need my time for myself to kind of decompress. So I think I don't think there's an introvert and an extrovert. I think like there's hybrids for sure. And I mean, I am struggling because of the pandemic because I want to meet people in person, and that does make me energized. So I don't know. I don't think there is definitely just one or the other, but it's a hard to balance, but at the same time, I mean, it's just who I am. You can ask my team. I think a few of my friends are on today, but I guess it's a good mix to have, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally a blend of experiences there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we can certainly, I'm keeping an eye on the chat to see if anyone has a question, but so I'd be curious to know, Liz, what's the tech category that's been most interesting that you've researched lately? Like what's one that you're kind of paying attention to?
Oh boy. Tech category. Wow. Content management systems is one that's kind of hot for our business. And it's interesting that different teams are coming at it for different reasons, right? So, one would be, the team that are developing a lot of content and want to be able to produce that quickly and be able to publish. And others are looking for it more from a back end on tagging and how do we understand how content is performing in content analytics, right? So, we're just starting to deep dive. I mean, I definitely, we use some platforms at Dun & Bradstreet, which were very helpful, but we're deep diving because this, I guess we had a narrow view, which was more from the content team's perspective early on. And we're starting to hear actually through our planning process that there's much more of an interest in content and, from field marketers to our global campaigns team, right? To
account-based marketers.
Account-based marketers. Yeah, there's all this content being developed, right? So that's an area of, a special interest to us right now as we're trying to tackle that one.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And I know we didn't talk a ton about account-based marketing, but I think marketing operations is sort of like the linchpin to do it well, right?
Absolutely. And, we're definitely having a focus on, how do we sell to the C-suite? How do we engage more with the C-suite? And we've been working with our ABM team on, helping them understand more about those people, what their interests are, and how do we just, enrich that database more so that they can, really get those opportunities closing faster.
Yeah, absolutely. If we take nothing away from this conversation, it just shows you, how much of a partner, if you look at marketing ops as a truly strategic and liaison kind of function, right? It can sort of turbocharge all your other efforts. So I hope people take that away from this conversation as a real opportunity. If you're not currently spending time with your friendly neighborhood marketing ops leader, that should be next on your list. Yeah. All right.
Reach out.
All right. Well, with that, John, any other questions for Liz today? Or
no, great conversation. I'm definitely taking away the content side of things to get people engaged right now in this kind of hybrid world. The content has to be super precise, super relevant. So Liz, thank you for making the time coming out today. And next week we have personalization CMO of Conversica, Rashmi Vital, who will be speaking with us and sharing some new research that they did on account-based marketing. So picking up on Liz's theme here of the content side, I think it'll be great continuity.
Excellent. Yes, Jamie, we're looking forward to it too.
We are looking forward to it. We are we're using Conversica in our business, so we'll be sure to join.
Oh, interesting. Great.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, we'll see you next week too. Bring your questions and many, many thanks again.